Okay, you've probably heard the word SOCMI tossed around, right? Especially when people get into heated debates about real estate or taxes here in Spain. But what are they really? It feels like everyone's got an opinion, but as we're about to see, most of it is just hearsay. So in this explainer, we're going to clear all that up.
So let's cut through all that noise and answer this one big question. We're going to break down what a SOCIMI actually is, look at the mind-blowing scale of this market, and tackle the biggest myths head-on, all using insights from people who actually know what they're talking about. You ready? Let's dive in.
First things first, what are we even talking about? Before we get into all the drama and the big numbers, we need to build a solid foundation. And at its heart, a SOCIMI is a special kind of company built to do one thing really well: pool money from lots of different investors to buy and manage real estate. Think of it like this. It's a way for pretty much anyone to become a real estate investor without having to go through the massive headache of actually buying a building, finding tenants, and fixing leaky pipes. Basically, it professionalizes the whole game and opens the door for everybody.
And this slide just nails the difference. Look at the left side. That's the old way. You need a huge pile of cash for just one property, and then you're on the hook for all the risk and all the management yourself. But SOCIMIs, over on the right, they completely flip that script. The cost to get in is way lower, and your risk is spread out across a whole portfolio of properties run by pros.
Okay, so now that we know what they are, let's look at how big this whole thing has gotten. Because honestly, the sheer scale of the SOCMI market in Spain is pretty staggering, and it really puts a lot of the debate into perspective. So just how big is this ecosystem? Let's run the numbers. To start, there are more than 140 of these companies listed on Spain's stock exchanges. Just that number alone puts the country right up there in the same league as an economic powerhouse like Germany.
And what are they worth? Well, if you add them all up on just Spain's main stock exchange, you get a market value of 25 billion euros. I mean, that is some serious economic weight right there. But you know what? This might be the most important number of all. 5.7 billion euros. That's how much fresh capital these companies have raised from investors to go out and buy more properties and grow. So you see, these aren't just names on a stock ticker. They are a major, active force driving the economy. But here's the kicker. As one expert we looked at points out, even these massive numbers don't tell the whole story. Why? Because there's a whole world of unlisted SOCIMIs out there, plus tons more that are just subsidiaries of bigger companies. So the real market, it's much, much bigger than what we see on the surface.
All right, let's do this. Let's tackle the elephant in the room. The one issue that creates all the headlines and political arguments. This idea that SOCIMIs pay zero tax. This myth has caused so much confusion, it's unbelievable. So let's get right to it. Do they really get away with paying nothing? The short answer is a hard no. The tax absolutely gets paid. The thing is, how it gets paid is different, and that's the crucial detail that almost everyone seems to miss.
Okay, let's just follow the money here. The tax isn't dodged, it's just passed down the line. A SOCIMI is designed to be a pass-through. It doesn't pay corporate tax itself for one simple reason. It's legally required to hand over at least 80% of its profits directly to its shareholders. And guess what? They are the ones who then pay the income tax. And here's the most important part. The system has a built-in safety net. If, for some reason, the shareholders don't pay a minimum tax on those dividends, the SOCIMI itself gets hit with a special 19% tax. So one way or another, the tax always gets paid. The whole zero tax thing, yeah, it's just not true.
So let's zoom out for a second. The rise of SOCMIs isn't happening in some kind of bubble. It's actually a huge part of a much bigger story. The story of how Spain has become one of the hottest destinations for real estate investment on the planet.
You know, if you go to the big real estate conferences in Europe, the experts will tell you all eyes are on Spain. Right now, it's ranked as the 4th largest market for real estate investment in all of Europe. We're talking just behind the UK, Germany, and France. That's a huge, huge deal.
So what's fueling this fire? Well, it's this perfect storm of factors. You've got a strong economy, more people moving here, that world-class tourism industry, and a market that's become way more professional and trustworthy, thanks in part to things like SOCIMIs. And what does this mean for you? Well, all that investment can lead to newer buildings, more housing options, and just a healthier economy overall.
But of course, it's not all smooth sailing from here. The SOCMI world is actually facing some pretty big challenges, and it's probably on the verge of a major change. So let's look at the two big forces that are going to shape what happens next.
On the one hand, you have a very fragmented market. Remember that number? Over 140 companies? Compare that to France, which has a bigger market but only 25 of these vehicles. So what does that mean? It means a wave of mergers and takeovers is almost inevitable. The market is naturally pushing to create bigger, stronger, more stable companies.
But here's the biggest threat, and one expert put it perfectly: legal uncertainty. Real estate isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a long-term game. Investors are placing bets that need decades to pay off. So when politicians are constantly talking about changing the rules of the game, it creates this climate of fear that can literally stop investment dead in its tracks.
So when we look to the future, it's all going to come down to this tug of war. You've got the powerful, logical push for companies to merge and get bigger. You've got the looming shadow of potential rule changes from the government. And all of this is playing out while there's still a ton of investor interest and real growth in the market.
Which really leaves us with the ultimate question: which force is going to win? Will it be the market's natural drive to create bigger, stronger players? Or will political uncertainty put the brakes on one of Spain's most important investment stories? That right there is the key tension to watch.